2020 has changed the world of sports. Some teams are adapting to the times by making changes in their stadiums and arenas, while others are letting fans buy virtual seats in the stands. Those changes have created demand for a wide range of unexpected roles, from plexiglass screen installers to video platform support specialists. Whether you have hiring needs for new positions like these or positions you're already familiar with, there's only one place to go: ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/max. When you post a job on ZipRecruiter, it gets sent to over 100 top job sites. Then, ZipRecruiter's matching technology finds the most qualified ones for your job and actively invites them to apply. It's no wonder 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. For a variety of industries, ZipRecruiter can help you find the right people for your roles, even with the new roles. ZipRecruiter is a hiring game changer. That's why you need to try it for free. You need to try it right now at ziprecruiter.com/max. That's ziprecruiter.com/max. Don't miss your chance. Go to ziprecruiter.com/max. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
The Max Kellerman Show, the podcast.
So, in the fantasy world, Tyreek Hill, I don't know how it works in regular fantasy leagues. Who plays that anymore? DraftKings, he put up over 60 fantasy points. I've never heard of that before. I don't know if that's a record or not, but I had Tyreek Hill, so I'm happy about that. Chris Carson giving me a good game tonight. I'm going to win the league. Beat my nemesis, Raj, who's also the producer on this show, chiming in from LA. That'll be 2 in a row for me, Raj. Who has the most first-place finishes in our league this year?
It'd be pretty tight between you and I.
Like
Mason's won a couple times. Yeah. So, thank you for the contributions, Ben Lyons and Bill Wolf and
yes,
everybody.
I appreciate them lining our pockets. By the way, I got a story to tell about that. It was such a nightmare entering my DraftKings team this week. But anyway, in the fantasy world, Tyreek Hill was unbelievable, and in reality he was, and he might be the best receiver in football right now. He's not just like a return guy who can catch a little bit. He's a great receiver. And he is, Cheetah is the perfect nickname for him because he is the fastest land mammal. It is true. I believe that's been proven. But at any rate, in terms of the reality, Patrick Mahomes is... If Aaron Rodgers had come into the league with a great coach and weapons everywhere, then we'd be like, Rodgers at his best, Mahomes at his best. But Rodgers never had that luxury. Mahomes did. And that, it puts him in a better position to be having so far, by far, and clearly, the greatest career of all time. 3 years in. Who's ever had a better career than this 3 years in? Patrick Mahomes, 50 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. The first time he starts at quarterback. They go to the AFC Championship game. Tom Brady throws an interception. Game over. Pre-snap penalty gives the Patriots the ball back, and they never look back. Mahomes never touched the ball again. Otherwise, the Chiefs, they should have gone to the Super Bowl. Brady throws the interception. Game over. Chiefs and Mahomes in the Super Bowl, where they beat the Rams. After all, the Patriots beat the Rams in the lowest scoring Super Bowl ever played. Chiefs would have beaten the Rams. But anyway, that's not how it happened. He got the MVP of the regular season and went to the very end overtime of the AFC Championship game. First time he touches the ball. 50 touchdowns, leads the league, 12 interceptions. Next time, last year, 26 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Missed 2 games for injury. Improved his touchdown-interception ratio. Won the Super Bowl. Came back 3 consecutive games. To Deshaun Watson, who's probably the second best quarterback in the AFC, to the Titans, who had just beaten the Patriots and looked like here, and the Ravens. And here they come, Derrick Henry. And to San Francisco, who looked like the best team in football wire to wire, really, if it wasn't the Ravens. 10-point deficit in the fourth quarter. Mahomes calls his own number, takes like a 15-step drop, throws the ball 60 yards to win the game. And he follows that up right now. He has 1 loss on the season. Mahomes got 1 loss on the season. He's only thrown 2 interceptions, 30 touchdowns, and he's leading the league in yards. Do you understand? This year he's going to win regular season MVP. What if he also wins Super Bowl MVP and improves his touchdown interception ratio again? Who's in this guy's category? The only guy close was Rodgers in his prime. But Rodgers didn't have these weapons, so who knows? Mahomes is like if Mike Trout just won World Series MVP. Mahomes is like if LeBron James was drafted by the Warriors when they won 73 games, right? Mahomes is on a great team with great weapons and a great coach. And that was the league he entered into. He never had to, worry about building and guys. Those guys were there when he got there. And he has this level of talent, and on top of that, has this gunslinger thing, but he never turns the ball over, and his teammates love him? What? This dude, he's the MVP. Look, Michael Jordan was the MVP for 10 straight years. They just didn't always give it to him, or for 10 years that he played, right? So, his rookie year, he dropped 28. He wasn't the best player in basketball yet, but he was top 5 as a rookie, Michael Jordan. His second year, he got hurt. He came back in the playoffs, gave the Celtics 63 at Boston Garden. Larry Bird said that's God in basketball shorts. And Bird, who was the best player in the world, looked at Jordan and said, yeah, that guy's better than me. And he was right. Game recognized game, right? When you don't have to worry about being insecure about it, you just up it when you see it. That dude's even better than me. And then from Jordan's third year on, until he retired the second time with the Bulls, he was way, way better than everybody else in the league. But they didn't give him the MVP every year. They gave him 5 of them. LeBron James nowadays, every year, by the time the finals are over, okay, that guy's the best player in basketball. Same thing, Mahomes is that. Mahomes is every year when the season starts, who's going to win the Super Bowl? In the near future, I'm going to take the Chiefs. Who's going to win MVP? Mahomes. Who's the best player in football? Do you even have to ask? Let's be honest. I mean, Tyreek Hill, he's 269 receiving yards with 3 touchdowns. 269 receiving yards with 3 touchdowns in one game on 13 receptions. Mahomes. What did Mahomes do yesterday? 462 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 37 of 49. He had 359 yards in the first half. It's the most first half passing yards by any player in a regular season games over the past 40 years. Peyton Manning once had 361 in a playoff game, which is odd because Peyton didn't usually do great in the playoffs. But look, Patrick Mahomes is in a category Rodgers has that kind of talent, but where there is an edge, it goes to Mahomes. And Mahomes is playing with better players. And Mahomes has had much more recent success, both individually and from the point of view of of a member of a team and a leader of a team. This dude's on another level. I told you that before the season started, by the way. I told you that last year. Last year, middle of the season, everyone had forgotten about the Chiefs. I was going on First Take. Have we forgotten about the Chiefs? The team Patrick Mahomes plays for, it'll beat everybody. Meantime, in that same game, a guy who was once the best quarterback in football, all things considered, a guy who I said would fall off a cliff and did not. Falling off a cliff means you're amazing, you're amazing, you're amazing. One day you wake up and you're no good anymore. That's not, or you're just a guy. That's not Tom Brady. Tom Brady was amazing, 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 and it was a steady decline. It was more of a ravine than a cliff. But, he is down it. Let's be honest about this for a second. People are trying to blame Bruce Arians. Why didn't Bruce Arians do this and do that? What? Hold on. Time out. So when the Bucs were coming back on the Chiefs, was that also Bruce Arians? Was that good coaching? Or was that good Tom Brady? In the beginning, it was bad Bruce Arians. At the end of the game, it was good Tom Brady. Right? Is that how it works? Remember the over-under for the Bucs this year was 9.5 games. I took the over. I figured 10 games. Because if Jameis Winston could win 7 games, a competent quarterback's going to win 9, and you give a little plus over a competent quarterback, a little marginal advantage over a competent quarterback, which is what Brady is nowadays, 10. That's what it is. They're 7-5 right now. They have 4 games on the schedule left. What did I say? Yeah, 4 games left, and it's a soft schedule. They'll win 3 of those games. They'll go 10-6, just like they were supposed to. Don't tell me now it's Bruce Arians. Before the season started, No risk it, no biscuit. How's that going to work? One dude wants the quarterback to throw down the field. The other dude, the quarterback, wants to dink and dunk. And don't tell me, well, Tom Brady dinked and dunked recently because that's what he had to do. No, he was dinking and dunking because that's what he could do successfully. That's what he could do. I mean, let's be honest. When Tom Brady tweeted at me or whatever that was, Cliff question mark, right? And he had the miles per hour 61 on the radar gun. Yeah, Tom, if you muscle the ball, if you put your best fastball, you can still throw. But can you put it where you want it? The answer is no. He was overthrowing receivers, underthrowing receivers, throwing late, throwing wide left, wide right. He was missing guys everywhere you could. Well, the Patriots have no weapons. How about the Bucs? Do they have weapons? They have a lot of weapons. Well, now he's getting used to a new system. It's excuse after excuse. Brady is still a solid quarterback. His QBR puts him 17th in the league. In average range, if you had to say high or low average, it's a tick under average. It's basically average range. And I would take Brady as an over-average quarterback still by a little bit. Because he's Tom Brady? Yeah, because Tom Brady in the moment of truth will tend to make better decisions than another guy. But it's amazing he can even be this good because he's 150 years old. But he's not a great quarterback anymore. That's why Belichick wanted to move on. And by the way, who looks better right now, Belichick or Brady? Remember that whole thing? Remember when I said Belichick, Brady, that's what this whole season's about? Raj texting me. Remember when I said Belichick, Brady, that's what this whole season's about? The age-old debate in sports. The age-old debate in sports. One of the great ones of the modern era. Who is it more, Belichick or Brady? Early on, I admitted it looks like Brady. Yes, Brady set it up that way. Had Robert Kraft forced Belichick to send Garoppolo out of town, according to reporting, and then left Belichick without a quarterback, and then Belichick doesn't have a defense because guys don't want to play because of COVID, and then Cam gets COVID, right? And then they have even fewer offensive weapons than last year. Belichick is one game under 500 right now. They had COVID. They had to shut down the facilities. And when you see that COVID period, they lost 3 straight games. But otherwise, they beat the Dolphins. They beat the Raiders. They just beat Arizona. They came a play away from beating the Bills, a play away from beating Seattle. And they're one game under 500. How's Belichick looking right now? I upped it early in the season. Okay, Brady's looking better than Belichick. How about now? That was straight talk, wireless, no contract, no compromise. Marcus Spears joins me on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Marcus, what's up with Brady and the Bucs?
Well, based on this head coach, they still trying to learn each other in Week 12 of the NFL season. A part of it is Brady not playing well, Max. The other part is they're asking him to be someone he's never been. So there's a lot of blame to go out. But I'm more of a player execution, and what are you doing to overcome that? Especially when you Tom Brady in that situation. But dude, I cannot get past what I'm seeing from Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich.
But hold on, before we get to Arians and Leftwich, Marcus, going into the season, the whole thing was I'm like, hold on, you have a no risk it, no biscuit coach and a dink and dunk quarterback. How's that going to work? Of course, that was part of it. Pointing to Arians, and remember what Floyd Mayweather used to say? Floyd used to say, you better not make no mistakes. Because Floyd made fewer mistakes than the other guy, right? And he punished the mistakes. Belichick's not perfect, but he will make fewer mistakes than the other coach. Brady don't have Belichick anymore. He has a dude, a regular coach, who's going to make mistakes sometimes. And the styles don't match up perfectly. But we knew that going into the season. Why are we acting like it's something new?
Max, listen. You can never tell me anything about a coach doing anything, because the coach's number one job is to identify what his talent does well and then highlight that, bro. Mm-hmm. I get it. I get what you want this to be. I get all of that. And I'm with you. Brady is not what he was. But with that being said, Max, you cannot that absolve Bruce Arians or Byron Leftwich and say, just overcome this, Tom Brady, because this is what we're doing. It's just like every
what
year.
What are you mad at Arians about and Leftwich about? Like, you mad about because Leftwich is offense, but you're like you want to double. You obviously want two guys on Tyreek Hill, right? But like, what are you mad about Arians? Number one, about what did he do wrong?
The problem with Arians and Byron Leftwich, all right, is this no risk it, no biscuit. It's literally not working. What you want to do, what you want your quarterback to do, is not working. And then there are examples throughout the game of a very similar look to what Tom Brady has done and has had success with, and you do it a couple plays, and then you don't stay with it. Like, there is a problem, man. It's a problem.
So do it Tom Brady's way. So in other words, Tom Brady gets there, and now Arians and Leftwich should just do it Brady's way, and then everything would be okay.
No, I don't say you just do it Brady's way. You major in more of what Brady has done successfully his entire career. That's what you do. Max, stop trying to create your narrative. That's common sense. It's common sense.
All I know is, look, we got to move on to Broncos and all that, but Marcus,
like
swagoo.
When we come into an NBA season every year, we talk about, well, James Harden and the small ball can get it done. When we know damn well that the Rockets wasn't going to win no championship playing that type of offense, bro.
Well, no, hold on. That's wrong. Wait a minute. The Rockets came much closer than they should have come to a championship playing that offense. If they wouldn't have played that offense, they wouldn't have gotten as close as they did.
Max, what if they played a different type of offense?
They'd be killed.
Why would they get killed as opposed to making sure you putting yourself in the best possible situation
Marcus, let me ask
to win a championship?
Let me ask
if James Harden can only play in that role, you got a problem with the player. Because that role that you trying to create for him and that system ain't winning you a championship.
Marcus, they had James Harden and a hurt Chris Paul go up against the Warriors with Kevin Durant fully healthy. They got to a Game 7 at home. They only got that way because of the way they played. If they would have played a more normal style of basketball, they would have been slaughtered. They would have never gotten to a Game 7. But wait, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. Let's back up. So the Bucks are going to be like 10-6. You figured them to be about 10-6 when the season started, right? Because Arians and Brady have opposite styles. Brady just got there, and Brady's not that great anymore. He's okay. He's better. He's a little better than average, even though the stats say he's a little below average. I think he's a little better than average. Okay, so that's what they have. I want to ask you about the Broncos. We just agree that I'm right there, correct? Okay, good. Let's talk about. Let's talk about the Broncos, Marcus. I want to talk about this. Do you think they should have played that game?
Look, man, I don't play no game when you don't have a quarterback to start the game. But Max, this the first time ever. No, but that's the way it worked out because they were irresponsible.
Right.
Like, no, I don't think you should play a game with no quarterbacks on your roster. But
I do. I do, Marcus. Let me tell you why. Okay? I think you're right about they were irresponsible, right? And the game was no good. Broncos probably weren't going to win anyway, but the game was no good because they didn't have a quarterback. But, brother, we're in a pandemic. There's a risk.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get through this season, right? Now, if they were in like a motorcycle accident or something like that, they didn't have any quarterbacks, you're still going to play the game. You play with what you got. You activate a quarterback. You do your best. In this case, they didn't have quarterbacks because the quarterbacks weren't wearing masks. They spread it amongst each other because they weren't wearing masks. And now the other team, the Saints, should have to postpone a game and mess around with their schedule because the Broncos, these players who didn't want to go into a bubble, right, in the NFL, the Broncos quarterbacks aren't following protocol. Now they're on the IR, basically. And because basically they're on the IR, I'll call it COVID list, whatever. It's the IR, basically. You need to postpone the game? Why?
Listen, Max, I'm not here to argue that point with you. All right, that's a valid point, and that's why they played the game. And technically, what you're saying is that's the punishment that you get for not following protocol. I'm with that. All I'm thinking about is the perspective from the dude that got to go out there and actually play quarterback that's never played quarterback before. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about how effed up that situation was for Hinton. How bad of a position that his own team put him in, right? So, listen, I get it. It's just like the Ravens, right? It's a situation with the strength coach not following protocol, and technically your punishment is having to play because of this. I understand all of that, and I understand that the other team does not deserve to be put in that situation. But when you ask me specifically about the Broncos, Hinton don't deserve to be put in that situation either.
All right, listen, you got to go do NFL Live. You guys are killing it, you and Orlovsky and Mina Kimes and everybody. I love the show. Go do your thing. Thank you for coming on. I hope you now let everybody know, in fact, that they shouldn't have played, that they should have played the game regardless of the quarterback situation. Of course, I'm right about Brady, but
2020 has changed the world of sports. Some teams are adapting to the times by making changes in their stadiums and arenas, while others are letting fans buy virtual seats in the stands. These changes have created demand for a wide range of unexpected roles, from plexiglass screen installers to video platform support specialists. Whether you have hiring needs for new positions like these or positions you're already familiar with, there's only one place to go: ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/max. When you post a job on ZipRecruiter, it gets sent out to over 100 top job sites. Then, ZipRecruiter's matching technology finds the most qualified ones for your job and actively invites them to apply. It's no wonder 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. For a variety of industries, ZipRecruiter can help you find the right people for your roles, even with the new rules. ZipRecruiter is a hiring game changer. That's why you need to try it for free right now at ZipRecruiter.com/max. That's ZipRecruiter.com/MAX. Don't miss your chance. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/max. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Remember being in your favorite sport clips, getting set for that great MVP haircut experience? Yeah, how about if we made that wait even shorter? Now, with Sport Clips On Deck text alerts, when you check in online or with our app, we'll text you a 15-minute heads up when it's time to head in. And when you're the next man up, you'll get another text to come take your seat. Less wait time, more prime time. Sport Clips. It's good to be a guy.
The great Marcus Spears, ladies and gentlemen. There he is. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Quoting home insurance just got easier with Progressive's Home Quote Explorer. Quote and buy, all online at Progressive.com. Giants, New York Football Giants. They won the game. But what did they lose? That's the question.
The Max Kellerman Show, the podcast.
So the Giants, the New York Football Giants, picked up their third straight win to take over the NFC East. They're 4-7. Entering Week 9, the Giants had a 2% chance to win the East, the lowest in the division, according to ESPN's FPI. But if the Eagles lose to the Seahawks tonight, that would be Seahawks tonight, Monday Night Football, the Giants would have the best chance to win the division, over 40% among the four teams. They'd be at 40. However, those chances would take a hit, obviously, if Daniel Jones, who left Sunday with a hamstring injury, misses any games. I mean, Colt McCoy, I guess the offense got a little worse. I don't know. It was hard to tell. A couple things. First, when Joe Judge started with all his tough guy coach stuff early, I thought clown show. He doesn't have the credibility with these players to be treating them that way. He's acting as though he's won a couple Super Bowls already, and it's his way or the highway. And coaches running laps and stuff, it's not going to work. But what I think about something and what the facts are, two different things, it changes my opinion. So far, the early returns on Joe Judge are looking pretty good. And even before the Giants started winning, I mean, they only have 4 wins, but you could see they were competing. Joe Judge has been impressive so far as a rookie head coach. Daniel Jones is showing improvement in spite of the fact that the O-line's nothing to write home about and he doesn't have Saquon Barkley. Nevertheless, Daniel Jones was taken 6th overall. You know who was taken 6th overall the year before? Quentin Nelson. You know who was taken 6th overall the year after? Justin Herbert. Let's talk about the first-round quarterbacks in the last couple seasons. Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa. Where does Daniel Jones fit in? Like, if Daniel Jones, let's say next year he's a solid average quarterback, because I'd say right now he's a little bit below average starting quarterback. That's okay. He's only in his second year. Let's say by next year he's a solid average starting quarterback. 3 years? The number 6th overall pick in the draft and 3 seasons of development to get to average? Even if he was a tick above average next year. The Giants can't ever draft a superstar quarterback? Why? Other teams do. I mean, if you reach at 6 for a quarterback, and then after 3 or 4 years you're like, hey, we have a tick above average starting quarterback. What are you, joking? You can literally sign a guy like that in the offseason. Solid guy. Go get Teddy Bridgewater in the offseason. No, you want a stud. Is Daniel Jones a stud? No, he's not. He's throwing behind receivers. He's throwing late. He's not reading coverages quickly enough. He's not throwing accurately enough. Now, he is also capable of making nice throws. Like, as I said, he compensates for that in other ways. For a second-year quarterback, solid. I like Daniel Jones. If someone says Daniel Jones, yeah, man, he's only in his second year, and I would say he's already a middle-of-the-pack kind of guy. If you force me to choose, I'd say low average, but still a tick below average. It's not bad for a second-year quarterback. But damn, man, can the Giants get that right? If they reach at 6, can they get a great one? Because that's not Daniel Jones. And do you think Daniel Jones would be a great quarterback? They're great quarterbacks in the NFL. The Giants shouldn't have one? They're great quarterbacks in the NFL, right? Like, forget about Patrick Mahomes. That's a different kind of animal. Or Aaron Rodgers, I get it. But there are, like Deshaun Watson's really good. Drew Brees is still really good when he's playing. You have, like, Roethlisberger, who came in with Eli, is still playing at almost a Pro Bowl level. You have Phillip Rivers is too, by the way, and Eli's retired. Although, Eli won 2 Super Bowls. I'll never say anything bad about Eli that way. But, like, Eli won a superstar mostly. Like, the reason I love Eli is because he was also kind of like that solid average, maybe a tick above most seasons. And when it mattered most, he was great. He was an all-time great. So you got it, Eli. And also, he was an Iron Man. Daniel Jones, obviously not an Iron Man. I hope the injury gets better. And we don't know how he's going to play in the big game. We haven't seen him there, and it doesn't look like they're going to get close anytime soon. Cullen in Virginia, you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
Hey, Max. Hey, man, I got one question for you.
Yeah.
All right, tomorrow you are the new head coach and OC for Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Do you listen to the guy with 6 rings, do it his way that got him those 6 rings, or do you do it your way?
Well, he didn't do it his way. He did it Belichick's way. Let's be very clear about that. That was Belichick. Brady was a great soldier, a general even, right? He was an extension of Belichick on the field, the way Tim Duncan was an extension of Greg Popovich, or Bill Russell of Red Auerbach. Like, right? Like, I get it. He's an extension, but. Or sorry, like, Larry Bird, Casey Jones, whatever. But an extension of the guy. But it's not Brady's way. Brady was doing it Belichick's way. Why do you think Belichick, with a lesser offense than he had last year, with a much lesser defense, in a season where his quarterback got COVID and is coming back from a catastrophic injury and is in a new system, is now 1 game below 500? 1. What, because he's lucky, Belichick? No. It's not Brady's way. It's Belichick's way. And yes, Bruce Arians is not as good as Belichick. But if you're saying what Brady needs is a perfect coach or the closest thing to a perfect coach, I got news for you. He had that. His name was Bill Belichick. He won 6 Super Bowls with him. Now he's not there anymore. So now we all want to blame Bruce Arians for being less than perfect? Come on, man. Tom Brady threw a couple picks. But all in all, Brady has been a solid middle pack quarterback this year on a loaded team. Can we be honest about it? I'll take one more real quick, Raj. Thad in Maine. You're on the Max Kellerman Show, Thad. Mitch in New Jersey. You're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
Happy holidays, Max. I agree. I want to see what Hurts has. They spent the second-round pick. But not every team can bench their star when they're going bad. Take the Rams, for instance. Goff is so up and down. I'd love to see them draft J.D. Daniels. That's just my opinion. Thanks for taking my call.
Well, I would say this about Jalen Hurts. I don't think you start Jalen Hurts because it gives you a better chance to win right now. I don't know that Jalen Hurts does that. I suspect he gives you a lesser chance to win. I don't think it's about winning this next game. I think it's about holding Carson Wentz responsible, seeing if you can fix that, showing the team you can't play that way and get to play. Sit him down the way McNabb got sat down the same year one of the years, McNabb took him to the NFC Championship game.
Where is your haircut gone? We know you don't get out as much. You don't drive by your regular sport clips and pop in for that MVP haircut experience that is so much more than a haircut. But isn't it worth getting out for? For that legendary hot steam towel for your face, massaging shampoo that makes you melt into your seat. Oh man, you remember that, right? We found your haircut. It's right where you left it. Sport Clips. It's good to be a guy.
One app, one tap, that's that. One swipe, one slide, sing it back. One app running with elite QBs. Russell got the cannon throwing clutch TDs. Lillard crossing over, step behind the line. Ain't no need to watch the clock, cause you know it's dang time, yeah.
You know what?
One app with the 30 for 30s. 2-finger push-ups, Bruce Lee showing no mercy. Fat Five got the crew on deck. Best believe Bo knows OG dual threat, yeah. No one else goes deeper, that's a fact. One slide, one tap, it's the ESPN app. Download now.
That's why. The worst thing that could happen is Carson Wentz plays a big game against Seattle, and the Eagles somehow win, and then they wind up winning a terrible NFC East, and he goes around thinking, "I've done it again, I've done it again, I'm so great," and comes back next year and does the same thing. I guarantee you, if that happens, Wentz won't be the Eagles quarterback in 2022. It'll be done. He won't start anymore. Should Nate Robinson have been the most popular meme this weekend?
The Max Kellerman Show, the podcast.
Gonna get right down to it.
We got you covered.
Let me tell you what I think it means.
No doubt.
Oh, Max.
There it is.
Let me get to the most popular meme of the weekend.
All right.
Nate Robinson had no business being in the ring Saturday.
No, obviously not. He's fighting a guy in Jake Paul.
So you say no,
obviously, son? Oh, sorry, no doubt. He's fighting a guy in Jake Paul who obviously has been taking boxing seriously over the last couple of years, and he is also a novice, really. But could I see Jake Paul turning into not like a world class, but like a 10-round fighter, like a real guy who could go 10 good rounds on a professional level? Yeah, I could. He's dedicated to it. And Nate is thinking, because Nate was always super athletic and very scrappy. He's a tough guy. That's not enough to get in. There's no muscle memory there. Athletes who get in with guys who are trained, they can have success here and there, but when they get into exchanges, muscle memory is always going to win. I mean, look at Nate. He's just winging punches.
Yep.
He obviously has no experience, and he walked into a bigger guy and got caught. No. But by the way, he's a consenting adult. He wants to fight. He fought. Takes a lot of guts to get in that ring, precisely because something like that can happen, and them's the breaks.
All right. Hey, I know we've got a lot of COVID issues in the NFL, but hey, we're lucky to get this far in the NFL.
But listen, no doubt, one of the reasons we've gotten this far is because people's tolerance for COVID, because of reckless leadership at the highest levels of our government, is so much higher than it ought to have been. As I said, I never thought it was going to get to 200,000 new cases a day and over 250,000 Americans dead, and people acting like, hey, yeah, let's try as much as possible to get back to business as normal. But given how drastically changed people's expectations, people's kind of threshold for dead Americans was much higher than I thought it would be, we've come far in the NFL season. And by the way, advances in technology, rapid testing, better access to tests, all those things. Yes, we are much farther along in the NFL season than I ever thought we'd be.
Same here. Hey, Bo Jackson turns 58 today. You know Bo? Is he the best athlete you've ever seen, Max?
Nah, son. I can't say that. I can't say he is. He's in the conversation because he was a great running back, and he was on his way to be – he was already a very dangerous baseball player. Like, he had speed, he had a great arm, and he had power. And actually, the year he got hurt, he was having his best season as a baseball player. He was, like, not just dangerous, like hitting a lot of home runs, but legitimately getting to be a good hitter. But Deion Sanders was kind of half dipping his, going back and forth baseball, never really played a full season, and was a legit leadoff man and was the greatest corner of all time. I think the second greatest defensive player to Lawrence Taylor who ever lived. And then you have guys like Jim Brown who are great lacrosse and Wilt Chamberlain who are also great at like volleyball and the 110-meter hurdles, not to mention Jim Thorpe. I can't put Bo alone in his own category. He's in there, but he's not number one.
All right, and real quick, folks are sleeping on the 8-3 Browns.
Nah, son. They got the Browns' number. They try to cover as much as possible for Baker Mayfield, who is a good enough quarterback, but that's it. Boy, this is too easy for Mahomes. There's almost always a rise in break-ins during the holidays. It's why Simply Safe Home Security is having a huge holiday sale. 40% off any Simply Safe system and a free security camera. Recently, U.S. News & World Report called it the best home security of 2020. So whether you're traveling or staying put for the holidays, check out the 40% off plus free security camera deal before it ends this week. Simply Safe won CNET Editor's Choice for home security and was named Best of 2020 by Forbes and Popular Mechanics. The system has an arsenal of sensors and cameras that protect every inch of your home. You can set it up yourself. It takes about 30 minutes. It's super easy. Plus, there's no contract, no hidden fees, no installation costs. Then Simply Safe security specialists take over, monitoring your home around the clock and ready to send emergency help the moment there's an alarm. Get 40% off Simply Safe plus a free security camera today by visiting simplysafe.com/max. Hurry, this deal expires on Friday. That's simplysafe.com/max. simplysafe.com/max.
The Max Kellerman Show, the podcast.
Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs look unstoppable. I mean, that first quarter won the game. That's all they really had to do. Tyreek Hill, 3 touchdown catches and 269 yards receiving and 13 receptions, and you can't put one guy on Tyreek Hill, the fastest land mammal. He's, by the way, anyone who didn't have him in DraftKings lost 60 points. The problem is, Raj, our whole league had Tyreek Hill just canceled out.
I looked at every single roster.
Was he on every roster?
And it's like our Thursday game when we did the Thanksgiving Day games. Everyone had Deshaun Watson. So
right, of course, so it didn't matter. But, it's something so juicy about seeing 60 points in a DraftKings game. Mahomes the best. Well, let's put it this way. Given the importance of the quarterback position, given the rules protecting and favoring quarterbacks nowadays, given their influence on wins and losses, Mahomes the best player who ever lived. Best football player who ever lived. I mean, is he as great an overall football player as like Walter Payton, or is he as dominant in his era as Johnny Unitas, or is he as great a quarterback as Jim Brown was a running back, or Jerry Rice a wideout, or Lawrence Taylor a linebacker, or Deion Sanders a corner? I mean, he's in that category. But none of those dudes are quarterbacks in the modern game. And this dude is like Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers had a baby. He can thread the needle. He's totally cerebral. He's also rah-rah, gunslinger type. His teammates love him. He's big and strong. He can pick up yards with his legs. He calls his own number and delivers every time. He won MVP the first year he played. He threw 50 touchdowns. He improved his touchdown to interception ratio the second year he played and won Super Bowl MVP. And now in his third year, he's probably going to do both. I'll take the Chiefs against the field. Not odds on. I'll just take them as the favorites against the field, period. And I'll take Mahomes as the MVP of the regular season and the Super Bowl MVP. He has 30 touchdowns to 2 interceptions right now, and he's leading the league in yards. I mean, it's not even fair. You put a guy with that much talent on a roster this stacked with a great coach who's a quarterback whisperer. It's not even fair. Meantime, Cam comes through in the clutch. Patriots top the Arizona Cardinals. Let's keep in mind, Cam starts the year. They beat the Dolphins by 2 scores. Miami's good. They lose to Seattle because of a goal line stand. Seattle's very good. They beat the Raiders this last week, notwithstanding. Vegas has had a great season. The Raiders have had a great season, an excellent season so far, even though they got thumped by the Falcons. That was embarrassing. They had an emotional letdown. It's a trap game for them. They're not emotionally ready to take the next step yet. They get up for the Chiefs, and then the Falcons crush them. But Raiders are good this year. Beat the Raiders. Then Cam got COVID. All right, he got COVID. What happened? They were competitive with the Chiefs, but they lost. And also a call went against them. And then, seemingly in a brain fog, they got whooped in consecutive games by the Niners, who was the first game by. They got thumped. But in both cases, I looked and said, Cam doesn't look right to me. And guess what? Cam later on said, yeah, I wasn't feeling right after COVID. That's why Belichick went over to him and kind of gave him a pat, like it's all right. Huh? Belichick's doing that after a guy screws up? Because he knew what Cam was dealing with. It seemed that way to me at the time. And then he barely loses to the Bills. Got stripped on a drive that would have won the game for the Patriots. And then they beat the Jets. And then they beat the Ravens. And yes, they lost to the Texans, but Deshaun Watson's been playing out of his mind recently. And then they just beat Arizona and Kyler Murray. Dude, think about it. They're 1 game below 500. They've not had an easy schedule. They're 1 game below 500. Cam Newton is recovering from a catastrophic injury. He just got back from a catastrophic injury. He's in a new system. Patrick Chung and Hightower didn't play this year because they didn't want to be involved with COVID, right? Because of COVID. Gilmore got hurt for a time. Everyone was bemoaning Brady's lack of weapons last year. They have even fewer for Cam this year. He's got nothing. Cam's got nothing. And they're 1 game below 500 with 3 quality wins, 2 plays away from 5 quality wins. 2 plays, 2 single plays away from, they're 5-6, right? 7-4. 2 plays away from 7-4 with a tough schedule. And by the way, Cam, look, he was never a guy who's put up big numbers or great numbers. And he never had weapons. This is not new to him. He was his own best running back, and his tight end was his best receiver. He's in the same situation now, minus the tight end. Hey, Cam, what's the feeling, what's that feeling when you win after a string of losses like you suffered this season?
I'd rather have a ugly win rather than a pretty loss, if that makes sense. I don't know if that even exists, but, we didn't play our best game offensively, but, when we needed it, we got the job done, and that's all that counts.
He's right. Cam hasn't been great this year, but he's led. And, again, 2 plays. It's like so much changes your perception of the season. If he doesn't get stripped against Buffalo, it's 1 play. If Bobby Wagner doesn't make the play on the goal line when Cam tried to punch it in, they're 7-4 with wins over Miami, the Raiders, Arizona, and then it would be the Bills and the Seahawks. 2 plays away from that. As is, they were a game below 500, and I have news for everybody. The AFC East isn't over. And don't tell me about schedule. Oh, they have such a tough schedule. those 5 games, their 5 toughest opponents, well, they lost to the Chiefs. Cam won there, and a call went against them. You really look at their 6 toughest opponents, and you look and you go, I don't know, they kind of weren't, they were in every game. And they got 3 wins. Broncos were forced to play without a quarterback, without not just one of their quarterbacks, with any quarterbacks due to COVID. Practice squad receiver Kendall Hinton, who played quarterback for 3 years at Wake Forest before changing positions, was forced into the role. And they were blown out by the Saints. And I've heard a lot of people talk about how they shouldn't have played the game. The league shouldn't have let them play the game. To hell with that. If you're going to play football in a pandemic and a COVID outbreak happens on a team, then the reason to postpone a game is simply that there is a contagion possibility, right? This is not safe to play. But as long as that's not the case, why shouldn't they play? Just because they don't have a quarterback? So what? If the quarterbacks were I don't know, out partying and I don't know, someone got in a car crash, right? And they were all in the same car, and they were laid up in the hospital, and they couldn't play, would they postpone the game? If they were all hurt in practice, better yet, they're all hurt in practice, would they postpone the game? If they had the flu, would they postpone the game? Or something more serious? No, they play the game with who they could play the game with. That's under any circumstances, really. But in this case, the quarterbacks weren't observing safe practices, really. They didn't have their masks on around each other. What was that story about? There were 3 hairdressers at a salon, and they'd seen something like 150 people over the course of a couple days, and they had COVID. And they tested the people. Of the people they tested, they couldn't find a single COVID case because they were wearing masks. Masks apparently are the best way to slow the spread. And if the quarterback is violating protocol, and as a result, even if you just don't have a quarterback just because of whatever reason, you still got to play the game. You want to forfeit the game, fine, but you got to play the game. But that it's a result of a violation of protocol during COVID by players who don't want to bubble up, right? Before the season. They want to rely on their personal responsibility. And then you still want to, no. Play with what you got. It's just a football game. You might lose it. You're going to lose it. All right, so you lost. And if it meant that much to you next time, practice better safety measures, right? Follow protocol. And you'll have a quarterback. Quarterback's not wearing a mask in the quarterback room, and all the quarterbacks get it. You don't then say, well, now they learned their lesson. It won't be a competitive game. Let's postpone it. What? So what? So that the Saints could have a game at the end of the season? What did the Saints do wrong? Vic Fangio, the Broncos head coach, talked about how he felt about his quarterbacks after the game.
Well, I was disappointed on a couple levels in that our quarterbacks put us in this position. Our quarterbacks put the league in that position. We count on them to be the leaders of the team and, leaders of the offense. And those guys made a mistake, and that is disappointing. Obviously, I haven't done a good enough job of selling the protocols to them, when they're on their own. So, part of that could fall on me there.
That coach is right about that. He's right. Look, the fact of the matter is the NFL is a league where you got roughly, when you add the practice squad, call it 100 guys on each team, right? And you have 32 teams. And then you add tag coaches and support staff and this and that. You got, over 3,000 people involved. I don't care how much personal responsibility people exercise. There are going to be some who at times are less than perfect. And that will lead to a spread of a virus, a highly contagious virus. Right? It's going to happen. I get it. Coach didn't do a good enough job selling the protocols, even had he done a better job. Maybe a quarterback feels safe among people he associates with. They've all been tested a bunch, right? And he's 6 feet away. He pulls down his mask. No. Well, Taysom Hill's 2-0. That's the upshot. Johnny in New York, you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
Hey, Max, good to be with you. I just wanted to talk about this Brady-Belichick distinction you've been making.
Yep.
First of all, I just want to say I think it's ridiculous to say who is more responsible. The only way you have the greatest dynasty in the history probably of team sports over 20 years is when you have the greatest quarterback of all time and the greatest coach of all time. But if you do want to go to that debate, it's really hard for me to understand how you can give Belichick credit for crafting a Super Bowl roster year after year, which he did, and then all of a sudden not give him any blame when he has a team that is 5-6. Granted, I've personally, as a Patriots fan, been proud of how they've competed, and I totally agree with you in terms of the Kansas City game and a couple other games that they could be doing a little bit better or have a better record. But I just don't understand how you can say that it's all Belichick.
Okay, let me explain it then. I think that's a legitimate question. First of all, I don't think it's ridiculous at all to say who is it more, right? Like together they're the greatest. But who's more responsible? I think it's fine. It's Belichick pretty clearly, not only the GM but also the coach. And Brady is going to be a great quarterback no matter what. No way he's going to be the GOAT without Belichick. And if you gave Belichick a couple of different other quarterbacks from that era, they'd have been the GOAT. Right? Like, and what's the proof in the pudding? Belichick didn't have Brady one season, won 11 games. Won 10 of them without Brady. They didn't make the playoffs. Okay, they won 11 games. And then, by the way, why is this instructive? Why do you, like, when you look at the details, you see Belichick's looking good right now? Because Belichick wanted to move on from Brady to a younger, cheaper quarterback who he thought could approximate Brady's success. Brady did an end around Belichick and had Garoppolo shipped out of town. Garoppolo then almost never lost. For the Niners, he won and won and won. Then he got hurt. The Niners lost and lost and lost. Then he came back. They were in the Super Bowl, had a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter with Garoppolo, right? Like, that's the guy Belichick wanted. Didn't get him, so he had nothing left. Then he lost his defense before the season, opted out because of COVID, right? And then the offense was no good to begin with. Andy didn't have his quarterback. Picks Cam up off the scrap heap. And again, 2 plays away from 7-4. 2 plays. From a guy, and by the way, Cam had COVID this year, coming back off catastrophic injury. Brady, on the other hand, goes to a loaded team. They got an offense. They got a defense. They have weapons. They have a coach. They have an offensive coordinator. Is it the perfect fit? No. No risk it, no biscuit versus dink and dunk. No, it's not the perfect fit, but we knew that going in. Not like that's new. We knew. Okay, so that's the drawback. Does Brady need it perfect? And they're 7-5. I don't know. I find Belichick's 5-6 much more impressive at this moment than Brady's 7-5, given the circumstances. And yes, Cam is partly responsible for that, but it seems to me that when you look at what the Patriots are working with, Belichick deserves the lion's share of the credit, just as he deserved most. It's not that. Look, does Tim Duncan deserve a lot of the credit with Popovich? Of course. And by the way, in basketball, it's a players' league. The best players win. In baseball, it's a GM's league, right? Most important person in the franchise, the GM. Football is a head coach's league. The number one thing is the head coach. A great head coach like Mike Tomlin can make a team without a quarterback 8-8. They can be competitive. But, like, yes, of course, Brady was an enormous contributor. I would say a quarterback who won 6 Super Bowls and more Super Bowl MVPs than anyone obviously had a huge thing to, influence on the greatness of that team. News from Max Kellerman Nation. Jim. No, who is that? Johnny just hit us up on the Dr. Pepper call-in line with a legitimate call. I like that. He had a point to make. Jim in Arizona, you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
Thank you, Max. I appreciate that. And while I completely respect Cam and that whole thing that took place yesterday in Foxborough, I think besides the questionable play calling of Kingsbury and some of the sloppy play by Kyler, we had that game won. And it was all about the Cody Parkey disease that seems to have bedridden Zane Gonzalez and the field goal. In fact, Zane can't hit field goals in 2 fourth quarters, even one in his own turf with a dome. That was what was the issue. It's not much that, the Patriots were that great, but I got to tell you, if Zane hits those field goals twice that we've missed those games, we've had those games won.
But let me just say this. And by the way, Arizona's a very good team. You have a lot to be excited about. Excellent young quarterback, an excellent team. You got DeAndre Hopkins for peanuts, and you got rid of a guy you didn't want with a bad contract. You got DeAndre Hopkins back somehow. But let me say this. And by the way, Arizona, here's the main thing about Arizona. If you can keep it close in the playoffs, just imagine you're a fan of the other team that Arizona's playing. It's a one-score game. Kyler Murray has the ball. There's a minute left. It's terrifying because not only is Kyler excellent, but just get the ball in the vicinity of DeAndre Hopkins. He turns a 50-50 ball with 3 guys on him into almost a sure thing. It's terrifying. But in the case of the Patriots, this is Belichick. I brought it up earlier in the show. I brought it up on First Take also. I'll be bringing it up a lot in the coming weeks. Floyd Mayweather used to say, you better not make no mistakes. Because Floyd wasn't perfect, but he made fewer mistakes than the other guy, and he punished you for your mistakes. Belichick is Floyd Mayweather. Belichick's not perfect, but he's going to make fewer mistakes than the other coach. So what you notice about Belichick-coached teams is the other team misses the field goal, right? The other team, they seem to, it's not that Belichick creates it. It's that the mistakes made by the other team will be highlighted by the fact that there are fewer made on the Patriots side. Not none, but fewer. It's why when people are trying to now blame Arians, why are you single covering Tyreek Hill? Oh, I see. So Arians is imperfect. It's hard to win with imperfect, right? Oh, that's the way everyone else who was in the league lived, while Tom Brady was with Belichick. It's an enormous, that's why it goes to the previous caller about why Belichick, Brady, and that. Yeah, because Brady benefited from having a coach that made fewer mistakes than any other coach. And did Belichick also benefit from the quarterback the same way? Yes, but the coach controls more facets of the game. So is therefore more valuable. And what if only Arizona hadn't missed the field goal. Yeah, that happens a lot against Belichick-coached teams. His team doesn't seem to miss those field goals. But by the way, real quick, it may be, like you look at the Steelers this year, they're usually, the old saying, be better in 2 of the 3 phases. Offense, defense, special teams, win 2 of those matchups, and you're going to win most of the games. Kind of like the Steelers this year, you notice? Special teams is not going well, but the offense and defense are clicking. The defense isn't going as great as you would think, or the offense is sputtering a little bit, but special teams play big. Think of the Titans game early in the season. That's kind of the Patriots. The Patriots are going to get you usually in 2 of the 3 phases of the game. Belichick. Could we be watching Wentz's last game?
2020 has changed the world of sports. Some teams are adapting to the times by making changes in their stadiums and arenas, while others are letting fans buy virtual seats in the stands. These changes have created demand for a wide range of unexpected roles, from plexiglass screen installers to video platform support specialists. Whether you have hiring needs for new positions like these or positions you're already familiar with, there's only one place to go. ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/max. When you post a job on ZipRecruiter, it gets sent out to over 100 top job sites. Then, ZipRecruiter's matching technology finds the most qualified ones for your job and actively invites them to apply. It's no wonder 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. For a variety of industries, ZipRecruiter can help you find the right people for your roles, even with the new rules. ZipRecruiter is a hiring game changer. That's why you need to try it for free right now at ZipRecruiter.com/max. That's ZipRecruiter.com/MAX. Don't miss your chance. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/max. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Where is your haircut gone? We know you don't get out as much. You don't drive by your regular sport clips and pop in for that MVP haircut experience that is so much more than a haircut. But isn't it worth getting out for? For that legendary hot steam towel for your face, massaging shampoo that makes you melt into your seat. Oh man, you remember that, right? We found your haircut. It's right where you left it. Sport Clips. It's good to be a guy.
As a starter tonight.
The Max Kellerman Show, the podcast.
Do the Eagles have any chance to beat Seattle?
They need to start Hurts because actually the worst thing that could happen for Wentz and the Eagles is they beat Seattle with Wentz.
Best players play. And right now, Carson Wentz remarkably is struggling with confidence.
No question that Carson is on notice. Put Jalen Hurts in, you showed them that you are giving up on the season. And right now ain't that time.
I'm going to talk about Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. on Last Take in a few, but right now the Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, the ESPN app, and SiriusXM Channel 80, and on your smart speaker. You can reach us at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. All guests join me on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Monday Night Football preview brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Battle of the Birds. Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf lead the Seahawks into Philly to take on Carson Wentz and a desperate Eagles team looking to stay atop the NFC East. We hope, of course, that Chris Carson has a big game because I have him in DraftKings. And, I'm winning the league by 10 points now, and that's the main thing you need to be focusing on. Rooting for Chris Carson so I can win. What is it? What's the prize in our league? Rob?
Oh, it's a hefty, at least $45-$50, something like that.
Right.
Maybe a little bit more. I think it's like 50 something. Yeah.
Okay.
Hefty. You better be careful though. I got that Seahawk defense, and you know how tight they are. They clearly could get me 20 points.
Yeah, you're 20 points off the pace. It's actually not easy. Do you take Chris Carson? Or you take Carlos Hyde? Because Carson's just getting back. I still have time to change it because Hyde's going to be less than Carson.
You do. You got time.
I don't know. Look, you heard the audio from First Take just now, where I was talking about it. I'll say it again. The worst thing that could happen for the Eagles is that Carson Wentz plays well and wins this game, or does something heroic and wins this game. That's the problem. The regression I saw last year, think about this, people. Think about it hard. When Orlovsky or whoever tells me, Max, you're crazy about Wentz. Last year, I saw it as people were saying, is he an MVP? I was like, no, he's not good. He's regressing. I said, look, he's maybe a top 15 quarterback because he is capable of making great plays, but too many bad decisions. His mechanics were regressing. His decision-making was regressing. His accuracy was regressing. Oh, it's the people around him. It's this, it's that. Okay, maybe that had a snowball effect. Whatever. He wasn't running Peterson's offense, et cetera, et cetera. I noticed it last year, and then it continued this year. I was being told, no, you're crazy. And now finally people are like, oh, he's fine. He's not playing well. So let me get this straight. Are people saying that Wentz was doing fine, then all of a sudden forgot how to play? Or was I right when I noticed he's getting a little worse, and here we are. Right? And the problem is, instead of people telling him the truth and the media saying what they saw, which is, this guy's not good, they chose to focus on what he was doing right, like beating the lowly Giants or the lowly Washington Club or the lowly Cowboys. There's a weak division he was beating, and he was beating those teams by a slimmer margin than the Washington backup quarterback was beating those same teams. Then Daniel Jones, a rookie, was beating those same teams. And he was lucky to do it, turn the ball over or fumble the ball or get stripped or throw an interception in the third quarter, on third down in the fourth quarter. He's lucky they would recover the ball. And what does he say a couple weeks ago at the post-game presser? This is the way we do things around here. See, that's the problem. I was the only one telling the truth about him last year. Me and one other person. You know who else? Howie Roseman, the GM, who drafted a quarterback in the second round. Now, I totally disagree with the excellent Ryan Clark. I totally disagree. You're not sending a signal you're giving up on the season. Who cares about... Wait, do you mean to tell me the Eagles think they're going to win a Super Bowl this year? Who cares who gets to the playoffs out of the NFC least? Who cares? They're not going to win a playoff game. That's what you're giving up on the season? No. They benched McNabb one year. He came back to get him to the NFC Championship game. They held him responsible. That's the message you got to send. By the way, also to Carson. You want to help Carson Wentz? Right now, he's his own worst enemy. He thinks he's doing okay. He thinks he can get away with this. Look at the reality, everybody. I'm telling you this, and everyone's like, no. But then look what's happening. Now people are saying, will he even be playing next week? If he has a good game, if they somehow beat the Seahawks, if they make the playoffs, mark my words, next year, Carson Wentz won't make it through the season. He'll be done with it. But they lose this game. They bench Wentz. He has to actually do some soul searching. He has to actually work on some stuff for real. Not like, I know I'm not supposed to try to force it, but oh, well, that's the way we do things around here. No. He works on it for real, maybe, just maybe. And at this point, I think there's too much wrong with him. But we know the talent was in there somewhere. Maybe, just maybe, he can get back to being an effective quarterback. He's like the league's worst on third down, on the money down. Used to be the best, now he's the worst. Monday Night Football preview was brought to you by Progressive Insurance, cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and more at Progressive.com. By the way, Russell Wilson, he's the sentimental favorite for MVP, even though he's not leading it now. All Russell's got to do is like, he's not as good as Mahomes. But if he can put up numbers that say, well, he's almost as good as Mahomes, they'll give him MVP. People want to give it to Russell Wilson. I understand why, because if you, like, we do it season by season the way awards work, right? Well, Russell Wilson, in any one season, wasn't the best. He was the best over the second half of the season. Cam won MVP in 2015. He was the best in the first half year, second half year. He was the third best quarterback this year, second best this year, fourth best this year. But you know what the thing about Russell Wilson is? Every year those names change. But Russell Wilson's name is there every year. So if you take the last 5 or 6 years, he's the best player in the game. He's been the best player over that period of time. And because he's never been rewarded, he's never gotten an award for that, because there is no award for that. What are you going to get, a Lifetime Achievement Award? He is the sentimental favorite to win MVP. If he gets his numbers really healthy against the Eagles, he'll get back on track. Because Mahomes' MVPs are going to go out to different players, a lot of different players. They're not going to want to give it to Mahomes every year. No Doubt, by the way, was brought to you, remember No Doubt from way back earlier in the show? By My Computer Career, Training for a Better Life. Did you see Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr.? You see that fight? That exhibition? What the hell of an exhibition. I'll give you my thoughts on Last Take up next. You know what's not healthy? Stressing about work, or maybe you're out of work. It's time to stop worrying and hit the reset button. You can start a new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months from the comfort of your own home, even if you have zero computer experience. You understand? There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Looking really good on the vaccines. What are you going to do when things get back to normal? There's some sanity at the highest level of our government. What are you going to do as things get back to normal? You just going to go back to your dead-end job, or do you want to have a career? Because even if you have zero computer experience, you can go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation right now. Live online classes meet just twice a week. And financial aid, including the GI Bill, is available to those who qualify. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu. Last Take up next.
Remember being in your favorite sport clips, getting set for that great MVP haircut experience? Yeah, how about if we made that wait even shorter? Now, with Sport Clips On Deck text alerts, when you check in online or with our app, we'll text you a 15-minute heads up when it's time to head in. And when you're the next man up, you'll get another text to come take your seat. Less wait time, more prime time. Sport Clips. It's good to be a guy.
One app, one tap, that's that. One swipe, one slide, sing it back. One app running with elite QBs. Russell got the cannon throwing clutch TDs. Lillard crossing over, step behind the line. Ain't no need to watch the clock, cause you know it's dang time, yeah.
You know what?
One app with the 30 for 30s. 2-finger push-ups, Bruce Lee showing no mercy. Fat Five got the crew on deck. Best believe Bo knows OG dual threat, yeah. No one else goes deeper, that's a fact. One slide, one tap, it's the ESPN app. Download now.
The Max Kellerman Show, the podcast. You heard First Take?
At least it's good to hear your voice finally, because I know on First Take I only hear you on the intro and outro.
Now hear Max's Last Take.
Mike Tyson, Roy Jones turned out to be the best version of what that fight might have been. Right? Like, that was the best version of it. Mike Tyson, see, first let's start with this. Roy Jones at his best was the best I've ever seen in my lifetime that I've lived through. He was pound-for-pound champ for almost 10 years. He was think about this for a second. Mike Tyson started at junior middleweight in the Olympics. Should have won a gold medal. It was the worst robbery in the history of the Olympics. Korean guy got the decision in Korea. But, Jones was beating him so bad, I thought they should have stopped the fight a couple times. right? Anyway, everyone knew he got a raw deal. Should have been gold medals. He doesn't come close to losing as a pro. At middleweight, wins the title. At super middleweight, gets robbed one fight because he hit a fighter who he had basically knocked out while the fighter was on a knee, Montel Griffin, so they DQ'd Roy. Roy knocked him out in the rematch in 1 round. At light heavyweight, cleaned out the division, except for Michalczewski, who fought over in Germany and wanted to lure Roy over there so they could rob him again like they robbed him in the Olympics. And then moved up to heavyweight and beat John Ruiz, a top 5 heavyweight, pretty easily, and opened as a 2-1 favorite to beat Mike Tyson. Think of how great Roy was in his prime. Imagine if I would have told you when Mike Tyson looked invincible, knocking out Michael Spinks in 90 seconds, whatever it was. Hey, there's a junior middleweight who's never going to come close to losing, and one day opened as a 2-1 favorite to beat Mike Tyson. But that was Roy. Okay, and now Mike Tyson, we all know the story. But Roy has always based his style on an overwhelming physical advantage in speed and reflexes. He was the quote-unquote boxer in this fight in the sense that he was the guy who was like moving around and the other guy was coming to get him. We have a tendency to call the guy who moves around a boxer. But in fact, Mike Tyson, because he was such a short heavyweight with short arms, Customato had a very technical style, developed to overcome the disadvantage in height and reach. So in fact, while Roy was considered the quote-unquote boxer, Mike is the better technical fighter. And it was showing early on, not just the size and strength, but the technique was showing early on. And he was catching Roy with some Mike Tyson hooks, and Roy took him very well. After about 4 rounds, I look in the corner, I see Roy huffing and puffing, looks exhausted. Mike's body shots were taking a toll, and I thought, damn, Roy's kind of being run over. And I could see the look in Roy's face like, I'm not going out like this. And the second half of the fight was competitive. Roy made it competitive. Tyson won. And they called it a draw. Vinny Pazienza had a weird card, but because Vinny was one of the Pazienza, former champion, was one of the ringside judges. But at any rate, Roy made it a competitive, entertaining fight when he just refused to get he had a moment where he said, "No, I'm going to impose my will here. I'm not going to let Tyson run me over." That was an entertaining 8-round, 2-minute rounds, but 8-round fight. And by the way, Mike Tyson, if he wants to keep doing this, he should. They should match him right, not against huge guys, not against young guys, but against older, smaller guys like Roy. They should match Mike Tyson. Who doesn't want to see Mike Tyson fight? By the way, you see Mike after the fight, he's like, everyone's worried about Roy. Roy fought 3 years ago. Because I haven't fought in 15 years. Why doesn't anyone care about me? Mike, we love you, but the sense is usually that the other guy is in trouble when Mike Tyson fights. He just left that impression on audiences in the 80s and 90s.
Is there anybody you want to see Mike go up against? Let's say, I know you said you want to see him get back in the ring if properly matched, but anybody come to mind? Or?
Everyone's going to say Holyfield. I don't think Mike got no wins against Evander, ever. Bad matchup for Mike. The thing about Holyfield is you are not ever blowing Holyfield. The only dude who ever really smoked Holyfield was James Toney. James Toney boxed he boxed Holyfield's brakes off, right? And stopped them. That's the only time someone had an easy time with Holyfield. Also, bad styles matchup. But also a middleweight, by the way, who'd moved up to heavyweight. But, and then Holyfield was knocked out by Riddick Bowe, but it was a hell of a fight. And the first 2 fights, they split. No, Holyfield's going to find out about you. You're not just going to knock Holyfield out. And so once it gets past the early rounds where Tyson's coming at, now all of a sudden it becomes who wants it more, who takes a better punch, who's a little bit more diverse in their attack, and that's Holyfield. It's just a bad matchup for Tyson. No, I don't want to see Holyfield. I don't know what the answer is to that, Raj. You have to be creative. But a small, old heavyweight, let's put it that way. A small, old guy, not a big, young guy. Like when people early on were saying, what about Tyson? Can he fight Tyson Fury? I'm like, are you people insane? Mike Tyson's 54, hadn't fought in 15 years, quit on his stool against a mediocre fighter when he last fought, had a long, brutal career, and then Tyson Fury's in his prime, a foot taller than Mike, 50 pounds heavier, dances like a lightweight. In Tyson's prime, that would have been a tough fight. All eyes on Wentz tonight versus the Seahawks. Max Kellerman Show.
Thanks for listening to the Max Kellerman Show. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. You can hear the show live weekdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN News, or wherever you stream your audio.